Have you ever felt it? Sudden tidal wave of emotion that rises from nowhere and consumes you whole. One moment you are calm, you are in control, you are you. The next, a switch is flipped. An unexpected email arrives, and a cold dread coils in your stomach. A driver cuts you off, and a blinding red-hot rage takes the wheel. A fleeting memory surfaces, and a profound sadness descends like a fog, coloring your entire world in shades of gray. In those moments, where did you go? It feels like a possession, a hostile takeover of your own mind. You say things you don't mean. You make decisions you later regret. You feel paralyzed by a fear that, on a logical level, you know is irrational. It's as if you are a puppet, and your own feelings are strings. You can see your limbs moving. You can hear the words coming out of your mouth, but you are not the one in control. You are merely an observer to your own actions, a helpless spectator watching a drama unfold on the stage of your life. And the most terrifying part, after the wave recedes, after the rage cools or the panic subsides, you are left alone with the consequences. You are left with the broken relationship, the poorly chosen words, the missed opportunity, and you ask yourself that haunting question: why did I do that? That wasn't me. This experience, this feeling of being a passenger in your own body, is one of the most painful secrets of the human condition. We are told from childhood to control our emotions, but no one ever hands us the manual. We are told to be strong, but we are not told where the source of that strength lies. So, we are left with a deep sense of personal failure. We believe we are weak, flawed, or broken because we cannot seem to command the very forces that live inside us. But what if that fundamental premise is wrong? What if those feelings, in the way they manifest, are not entirely your own? What if they are the echoes of an ancient programming, a ghost in your own machine? What if you are not weak, but simply unaware of the invisible puppeteer pulling the strings? This is the question at the heart of our journey today. We are here to investigate this invisible force. We are here to unmask the puppeteer. Because you cannot defeat an enemy you cannot see, and you cannot reclaim a throne you don't realize has been usurped. To begin this investigation, we must first understand that the strings of this puppeteer are not metaphorical. They are physical, they are chemical, they are woven into the very fabric of your biology. Every time you experience a strong, reactive emotion, your body initiates a cascade of neurological and hormonal events. The central command for this is a system known as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal HPA axis. Think of this as the master alarm system of your body. When it perceives a threat, real or imagined, a lion or a stressful deadline, it floods your system with hormones. Most notably, cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone. It's the chemical messenger that prepares you for fight or flight. It's incredibly useful if you need to outrun a predator. But what happens when the alarm system is triggered over and over again by traffic, by work stress, by anxious thoughts? What happens when the puppeteer is constantly yanking on these chemical strings? The consequences are not just mental, they are profoundly physical. In a groundbreaking 2014 study published in the journal Molecular Psychiatry, researchers at UC Berkeley, led by Dr. Daniela Kaufer, revealed how chronic stress and elevated cortisol can physically change the structure of the brain. Prolonged exposure to cortisol can disrupt the generation of new neurons and instead create an overproduction of myelin-producing cells, changing the very wiring of the brain to be more efficient at transmitting fear-based signals and less efficient at higher-level thinking and memory. In essence, every time you let an emotional reaction hijack your system, the puppeteer is not just controlling your mood. It is physically reinforcing the very strings it uses to control you. It is rebuilding your brain to be better at being stressed, better at being anxious, better at being its puppet. This is not a personal failing. It is a biological process. It is a feedback loop where reactivity breeds more reactivity. So, the first step is to see this clearly. Your feelings of being a puppet are not an illusion. They are the result of a powerful, ancient, biological system that, when left unchecked, will act as the de facto ruler of your inner world. It is the unseen puppeteer, an ancient guard dog that has taken over the palace. And now that we have seen its strings and understood the cost of its rule, our mission becomes clear. It is time to find out exactly who this puppeteer is, and how we can, finally, uncut the strings. In our last chapter, we established a critical truth. The feeling of being a puppet is real, and the strings are the chemical cocktails orchestrated by your body's HPA axis. We are left with the burning question: who, or what, is this puppeteer? Who is yanking on these strings, plunging you into emotional chaos without your consent? The temptation is to imagine a monster, a shadowy villain, a demon on the shoulder, or some flaw woven into the fabric of your soul. But the truth is both simpler and more profound. The puppeteer is not a monster you must slay. It is a guardian you must retrain. The controller is not an intruder. It is a part of your own mind, so ancient and so powerful that it has been ruling from the shadows for your entire life. It is time to unmask this controller. To find the source of your emotional reactivity, we must travel back in time. Not just years, but millions of years, to the very origins of the human brain. Your brain is not one single entity. It is a layered organ, built up over eons of evolution. Deep within, at its core, lies the primitive brain, the same brain that guided our earliest ancestors on the dangerous savannas. Its prime directive was not happiness, fulfillment, or inner peace. Its one and only goal was survival. And at the heart of this primitive brain sits a small, almond-shaped cluster of neurons. This is the amygdala. Let us call it by a more functional name, the ancient guard dog. This guard dog is your internal alarm system. It is eternally vigilant, constantly scanning your environment for one thing and one thing only: threats. For our ancestors, threats were simple and clear. A predator in the grass, a rival tribe, the sound of a cracking branch in the dark. The guard dog's job was to react instantly, bypassing all rational thought, to trigger the HPA axis and flood the body with cortisol and adrenaline for immediate fight or flight. There was no time to think, only to react. This system is why you are alive today. It is a masterpiece of evolutionary design. But here is the problem. The guard dog is ancient. It is primitive. It has not been updated for the modern world. It cannot tell the difference between a life-threatening predator and a critical email from your boss. It cannot distinguish between the threat of physical attack and the threat of social embarrassment. To the guard dog, a threat is a threat, and its only response is to pull the alarm. This process of the primitive brain overriding the rational brain was given a definitive name by the psychologist and author Daniel Goleman in his seminal 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence. He called it the amygdala hijack. This is the precise moment the puppeteer takes control. Let's visualize your mind as a kingdom. You, your conscious, thinking self, reside in the sophisticated, modern part of the brain, called the prefrontal cortex. This is the wise sovereign of the kingdom. The sovereign is logical, capable of empathy, long-term planning, and seeing nuance. The sovereign understands that your partner's bad mood is likely not about you, or that a deadline is a challenge, not a life-or-death emergency. But in the watchtower of the kingdom sits the ancient guard dog, the amygdala. All sensory information from the outside world first arrives at a relay station called the thalamus. In a normal situation, the thalamus sends the information upstairs to the throne room for the wise sovereign to analyze calmly. But when a message arrives that the guard dog perceives as a threat, it performs the hijack. It commands the thalamus to bypass the throne room entirely. The signal is sent directly to the guard dog, which immediately sounds the kingdom-wide alarm. This alarm is the activation of the HPA axis we spoke of. The cortisol strings are yanked. The entire kingdom is put on a war footing. Your body is prepared to fight a tiger. And where is the wise sovereign during all this? Effectively locked in the throne room, unable to be heard over the deafening alarm bells. Your rational mind is temporarily offline. The guard dog is in total command. This is the hijack. This is the moment your feelings are no longer your own. They belong to an ancient, panicked security guard who only knows one response: full-scale emergency. Only later, when the perceived threat is gone and the stress hormones begin to fade, are the alarms silenced. The door to the throne room opens. and the wise sovereign steps out, looks at the chaos, and asks, "What happened here?" This is the controller. The puppeteer you have been searching for is your own well-intentioned, but outdated and untrained amygdala. It is not evil. It is not your enemy. It is a loyal guardian trying to protect you using ancient tools that are no longer suited for your modern life. It is a guard dog that barks ferociously at the mailman, the neighbor's cat, and a falling leaf with the same intensity it would a home invader. Seeing this is the most crucial step towards freedom. It allows you to stop blaming yourself. You are not weak. You have just been letting an overzealous security guard run your kingdom. It reframes the entire problem. The goal is not to kill the guard dog. You need its protection. The goal is to become its master. The goal is to teach the wise sovereign how to acknowledge the guard dog's bark, but to make the final decision on whether it signifies a real threat. The puppeteer has been unmasked. Now, we must learn how to ascend the throne and take back the crown. We have pulled back the curtain. The great and powerful puppeteer, the force that has dictated your emotional life from the shadows, is not a monster or a demon. It is your own ancient guard dog, the amygdala, a loyal but primitive protector, hijacking your rational mind in a misguided attempt to keep you safe from the perceived threats of the modern world. Knowledge is the first step to power, but it is not power itself. Knowing the name of the hijacker is not enough to stop the hijack. To do that, you must ascend the throne of your own mind and learn to wield the tools of a sovereign. You must replace the guard dog's panicked, automatic reactions with your own calm, conscious commands. This is not done through brute force. You do not shout at the guard dog. You retrain it. You do this by making a new set of promises to yourself. These are not mere affirmations. They are decrees. They are the foundational laws of your new inner kingdom. These are the sovereign's 3 oaths to reclaim your throne. Each oath is a skill, a practice that targets a specific weakness in the hijack mechanism. Master these, and you will hold the scepter of your own consciousness. The first oath is to see the emotion without becoming the emotion. The guard dog's power comes from fusion. It makes you believe that you are the anger, you are the anxiety. The emotion feels like the totality of your reality. The oath of obsession is your tool to break this fusion. It is the act of stepping back and becoming the witness to the feeling, rather than its victim. When the wave of emotion rises, you will not try to stop it. You will simply notice it and label it. In your mind, you will say, that is anger arising, or I see you, anxiety, or a thought of fear has appeared. This practice is a cornerstone of a powerful therapeutic framework called acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, developed by psychologists such as Dr. Stephen C. Hayes. The core technique is known as cognitive diffusion. The goal of diffusion is not to change or eliminate a thought, but to change the way you relate to it. Instead of being hooked by a feeling, you observe it. For example, instead of thinking I am a failure, you practice thinking I am having the thought that I am a failure. Do you feel the space in that? That small gap is where your freedom lives. You are not the thought. You are the one having the thought. By labeling your emotions as they arise, you are performing an act of diffusion. You are stepping out of the raging river of emotion and onto the riverbank, becoming the calm observer of the current. This single act begins to dissolve the guard dog's power. Once you can observe the emotion, you must take the next step, formally separating your identity from it. The guard dog wants you to believe its state is your state. The oath of separation is a declaration of your true identity. It is the constant reminder that you are not the fleeting weather of your emotional world, but the vast, unchanging sky that holds it. This is a practice of self-talk. When anger appears, you will tell yourself, the anger is here, but it is not me. I am the space in which the anger is happening. When sadness visits, sadness is a cloud passing through me. But I am the sky. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's a neurological command. The work of neuropsychiatrist Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz at the UCLA School of Medicine, particularly in his book Brain Lock, demonstrates how this kind of focus brains and muscle talk, what he calls being an impartial spectator, is a powerful way to engage the prefrontal cortex, our wise sovereign. They say, when you say I am angry, you reinforce the emotional circuit in the limbic system. They say, When you say, I am aware of a feeling of anger rising, you activate the higher level, analytical parts of your brain. You are literally shifting the energy and blood flow in your brain from the reactive guard dog to the rational sovereign. You are strengthening the part of you that chooses and weakening the part that simply reacts. Every time you declare, I am not this feeling, you are reinforcing your identity as the master, not the subject, of your inner kingdom. You have observed the emotion and separated yourself from it. The guard dog is on a leash. The final oath is to give a direct command, not just to your mind, but to your entire physiology. You must have a tool to manually flip the switch on the HPA axis, to tell your body's alarm system that the crisis is over. Neuroscience has recently identified the fastest known way to voluntarily bring your body out of a state of stress. It's a specific breathing pattern known as the physiological sigh, a technique extensively studied and popularized by Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neurobiologist at the Stanford University School of Medicine. It's not just deep breathing, it's a specific command based on our lung anatomy. Here is how you perform it. You take 2 sharp, consecutive inhales through the nose, the first one long, and a second, shorter one right after, to fully inflate the tiny air sacs in your lungs. Then, you perform a long, complete, and slow exhale through your mouth. That's it. 2 quick inhales, 1 long exhale. Research from the Huberman lab at Stanford shows this pattern is the most efficient way to offload carbon dioxide and signal the vagus nerve, which acts as the primary brake on your body's stress response. Performing even 1 or 2 physiological sighs can immediately bring your heart rate down and command your nervous system to shift from fight or flight back to rest and digest. These 3 oaths are your decree. When the hijack begins, observe. I see this feeling. Separate. I am the sky. This is the weather. Command. Command. Perform 1 physiological sigh. Command. This is the practical work. This is how you take back your throne. Not by fighting your emotions, but by mastering them with wisdom, separation, and precise command. You now have the keys to the kingdom. You now hold the sovereign's decree. 3 sacred oaths that, when practiced, serve as your shield and scepter in the kingdom of your mind. The oath of observation, to see the emotion without becoming it. The oath of separation, to remember you are the sky, not the fleeting weather. And the oath of command, to physically calm your body's storm with a single, powerful breath. These are the tools of a master. But having the tools is not the same as being a master builder. A blueprint for a fortress is not the fortress itself. The final chapter of our journey is about architecture. It is about how you take these individual acts of self-control and use them to build a permanent structure of freedom within your own consciousness. It is about how you move from constantly fighting for your throne to ruling from it with effortless authority. The first time you successfully use the 3 oaths in a real-life situation will feel like a miracle. The moment you feel the guard dog bark, but the wise sovereign remains in control, it is a moment of profound victory. But true mastery is not about winning 1 battle. It is about making peace so pervasive that the battles cease to exist. This is achieved through the most powerful and hopeful law of your own biology. The concept is called neuroplasticity. For centuries, we believed the adult arm was a fixed, unchangeable machine. But as neuroscientists like Dr. Norman Deutsch detailed in his revolutionary book, The Brain That Changes Itself, we now know this is false. The brain is dynamic. It is like living clay, constantly reshaping itself based on your thoughts, actions, and focus. Every single thought you have, every action you take, strengthens certain neural connections and weakens others. Let's return to our metaphor of the brain as a forest. Your old, automatic emotional reactions, your anger, your anxiety are a 6-lane superhighway running through this forest. The road is wide, clear, and paved. Your brain uses it by default because it requires the least amount of energy. Your new response, the path of the 3 oaths, is currently a tiny, overgrown footpath in that forest. But here is the magic. Every time you successfully choose the footpath over the highway, every time you observe, separate, and command instead of reacting, you are doing something physical inside your brain. You are sending a team of workers to clear that footpath a little more. You are widening it, paving it, making it easier to travel next time. Simultaneously, the old superhighway, now unused, begins to fall into disrepair. Weeds start to grow over it. You are, quite literally, re-landscaping your own mind. You are physically dismantling the architecture of reactivity and building the architecture of peace. This is the most empowering truth. Your past does not have to be your future. Your ingrained reactions are not a life sentence. They are simply well-traveled roads in your brain, and you have the power to close them down and build new ones. Every time you practice your oath, you are not just coping. You are engaging in a radical act of neurological reconstruction. You are becoming the architect of your own soul. So, what does it feel like to live in this newly built fortress? What is life like when the sovereign is truly on the throne? It is not a life without feelings. This is a critical distinction. The goal is not to become a passionless robot. Anger will still arise when injustice occurs. Sadness will still visit when loss is experienced. Joy will still bubble up in moments of beauty. The difference is that these feelings no longer have the power to hijack you. They are no longer the puppeteer. They become what they were always meant to be: information. Anger becomes a compass, pointing to a boundary that has been crossed. It is no longer a wildfire. It is a signal flare. Sadness is no longer a drowning ocean. It is a cleansing rain that shows you what you truly value. Anxiety is no longer a paralyzing monster. It is a surge of energy that asks you to prepare, a question that prompts you to seek clarity. You no longer operate from the chaotic courtroom of emotion. You receive the emotion as a messenger. Thank it for its information. And then the wise sovereign, the true you, makes the final decision from a place of clarity and peace. You have space to choose your response. You have freedom. This is the ultimate promise of this journey. The end of self-sabotage, the beginning of a life lived with intention, purpose, and a profound, unshakable peace that does not depend on the world outside you being perfect. So, as you prepare to leave here today and step back into your life, I will not ask you for anything. This knowledge is now yours, a key placed in your hand. The only thing that matters is what you choose to do with it. I will simply invite you to perform one final act. In the quiet of your own mind, ask yourself this question: what is the first territory in my kingdom that I will reclaim with this power? Is it your patience during your morning commute? Is it your calm in a difficult conversation with a loved one? Is it your focus when faced with a daunting task at work? You don't have to tell anyone. Just identify it for yourself. Let it be a silent promise. That is your first true decree as a sovereign. That is the moment you stop being a student of this philosophy and become its living embodiment. The rest is just practice.